2004, you teach at the academy, you move to the public school, and it really helps you to like focus your skills because of the repetition of the classes, right?
Yes.
And then after the public schools, where did you go?
That's it. I started my school.
Right away.
Right away. 5 years in Korea.
Nice.
So 11 years we've been open now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we started at my house first.
Yeah,
so
that's
like a lot of people.
Yeah, that is the best way. I notice with schools and academies that open around here, the academies that open small and build up.
Yeah.
Have I want to say it diplomatically. They have a better understanding of themselves.
Maybe, yeah.
I've noticed a lot of academies that open big. Like when they first open, it's just chaos and
right.
I prefer academies that open small and build their way up.
Yeah, there is no like okay, if you want to go study music, there's like music theory, and you can just study each part from and then if you do it right from the beginning to the end, then you'll know everything. And there's no exact guideline like that for what we do.
Right.
So
there's a lot of failing.
Yeah.
And it's better to do the failing when you're.
And it's stuff that people don't even think about that'll make you mess up. And so, yeah, you have to go through all of that on a small scale. I mean, you don't have to. I'm sure there's people that haven't.
A lot of the big chains, when they open, like they're already pre-existing big chains, but the person that actually opens it is someone who just paid money to use the name.
Yeah.
And doesn't have the experience.
Sure, so they went through that legwork.
Right, but it's definitely not a rule that states like, oh, you have to do it this way, because there's so many variables in it.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I think, well, first off, if you're not buying a franchise, if you want to talk about all that now,
let's talk about. Well, let's start with like how you chose the program at your academy, and then we can talk about like franchises and that kind of stuff.
The program's changed a lot over the years, but essentially,
that's the mark of a good academy.
Yeah, and it hasn't changed a lot, but I mean, like little details.
Right.
But if I want to think about, it's a long time ago. What were the main elements that I incorporated? Obviously, like the 6 major elements of English studies. Listening, reading. Like my program has to have listening, reading, writing, speaking, grammar, vocabulary. All of that needs to be into the program. And then also class size. Just statistically, small class size is better. So, and I worked you
worked in really big
class sizes, and so and my wife worked. She did privates, so we kind of got to see like the differences between the two, and neither of them were perfect.
Right.
So anyway, that's kind of where our starting point was. We went from there and built a program with the books, but a lot of it was more about the management of the system and how are we going and how much homework can a child handle, and it's hard dealing with the mothers and the phone calls and like that I would say like of course the program's important, but the management of it all is like the most important thing. Trying to make it all come together and the communication between everyone was the hardest part, right?
Yeah, we made a video before about how to choose an academy, and one of the biggest things I said was a lot of times when you're choosing the academy, you're choosing the management. Like you're choosing the teachers, you're choosing the systems that they have set up. Yeah, and it's more than just looking at a book and saying like, "Ooh, this book is good."
Well, I mean, I could teach any book if you give. I mean, like if it's. I mean, there's nothing magic about my books. There's nothing magic about what we're doing, I'm sure if you gave me any decent set of books that had some kind of listening component and vocabulary component and reading component, and I can, even if it didn't have speaking, I can make the speaking or whatever, like, we can make that work. So the books aren't that important.
Right.
Like, what's really important is, like, how much time? So how much time can the average child this age study and still pay attention and retain? And how much time do their parents expect them? And how many times can we really get them in the classroom? Like those are the questions that are...
And there's not unanswered too, because it changes over time with the students, and it also changes with the individual students. Yeah. Like, I don't know, in my experience, when you have like younger kindergarten students, their attention span is probably 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And
I totally agree. Like 20 minutes, what I say, 15, 20
right.
minutes. Mm-hmm.
And so we put them in 40-minute classes, but we have to change. You have to keep changing what you're doing every 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, so that's a good point.
Yeah.
You bring that up. So in my program, about every 5 to 10 minutes, there's a new thing going on every time. It's all written out, and when a teacher comes in, they train with me, and they learn that, and I tell them that. You have to keep switching things around, just to make it fresh and nice, and people are learning. And then we hit all of those different elements of learning.
And then, but then as they get older...
Then when it gets older, you can handle more. So like my older students will have, quite long discussions on a piece of text that they've read prior to the class, or they'll write a little essay for me,
Right.
But they can't handle it at first. And, if you have the wrong management system, it doesn't matter what kind of books they have. If they're trying to juggle all that in the incorrect way, then you can see failure or kids that don't enjoy their studies.
So what was like the most important thing or the insights that you got when you were developing your management style?
So one of the questions that you had asked me about was what are some hardships? What's the hardest thing dealing with a hagwon, right?
Yeah.
And so the first thing I thought was obviously management.
Right.
So management. So like
there's no question because the kids are awesome.
Yeah.
and they're definitely not the hard part.
Yeah, sure. So and that's not too bad, but still not perfect when you have a small school at your house, like just me and my wife, and then we had our secretary. That's not too bad. You think it's hard, but it's not hard.
Right.
But then when you start bringing people in, it starts multiplying because you have these channels. So first off, you need to communicate with all the children, and then you need to communicate with the teachers, and they need to communicate back and forth, and you need to know if they're doing it. Right. And then the parents are involved, so that's another couple of hundred people. And it gets pretty complicated.
Right.
So your question was exactly what was the most important thing I learned? There has to be clean, clear communication, and you need to follow up on that. What's going on? You can't just go to work and expect your teachers and your students to have this great day and you go fishing. Like you have to keep checking up and looking at their papers and asking, "How's John?" And
do you have some kind of communication channel between?
Sure. We have paper trails and online trails, and we have meetings, lots of meetings. So I guess it's quite time consuming. I think the way I do it, and then by the way, the way you do it, this may be different.
It sounds pretty similar.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the details vary, but like the main idea is
similar. That you need to know when you walk into work, you need no surprises.
Right.
That's the main thing, right? If you have like a lot of surprises, like here's an example of something I never want to hear. Hey, Minsu wants to quit. Why? Minsu's missed a bunch of days, and Minsu hasn't done his homework, and he's been sad, and he had a fight, and guess what? I didn't know about it. That's a really unreasonable situation.
Right. There's a huge breakdown in the line of communication there.
Sure. Yeah. So you have to have all that communication.